Ladies and gentlemen, for the final session of Growth Summit and day one, please welcome to the stage Rob Pegoraro.
Good afternoon. Everyone like to talk about credit reports? Great, you've come to the right place. With me here is co-founder and chief revenue officer Nichole Mustard of Credit Karma, who's going to talk about how they built this company from nothing to a $4 billion valuation. Come on up. All right, so let's start with how we got here. Where did this idea take root, and what were you doing at the time?
Yeah, so I wish I could take credit for germinating the idea, but my co-founder, Ken Lin, came up with the idea of providing consumers truly free credit scores. This was back in early 2006, and then he had reached out to me because we had worked together previously. He had just always been one of those guys where you're working together and you say, this is the type of person I hope our paths cross again in the future and I can work with. And he approached me and said, I've got this great idea. I see more consumers moving online. I see financial services hasn't scaled online yet. I believe if we help consumers manage their credit and we're there at the point of time when they're trying to understand what's my credit, what can I get for it, that there's a business to be built.
And so you launched in March 2007. Had you known that not even a year later the economy would go off a cliff, would that have changed any of this decision making?
According to my family, absolutely yes. So I had moved my family from Los Angeles in a very cushy, relaxing home up to San Francisco to work in a bar on the fourth floor, on the fourth floor above a bar and beside an exit. When we walked right into the recession, we realized, one, it was bad, but the reality was for us, we had always believed in building a true consumer-focused business. So what it did is took an area that we were intentionally moving towards and just forced us to double down, right? At that point in time, the business could only be about what is the product you can build that will be so delightful and valuable to consumers that they'll keep coming back and stay engaged, such that when the financial markets come back and the regulatory environment is much clearer, that we'll be able to move forward with the rest of our flywheel.
And when did you get that sense that we're in the tunnel, but we can see the light at the end of it?
Yeah, so I think the numbers, this is always one of the problems of being a co-founder. It's 11 years, so the numbers kind of are fuzzy for me. But I think we've gone from 10 million members to 80 million members in just the last 5 years. So, from a scaling perspective, it was barely above the zero line for the first 5. And we've really been able to come out of it. So, to answer your question, I think we were a good 4 or 5 years in before we were able to get the full flywheel really working together from acquisition through engagement and into monetization.
And at what point did you get that coveted unicorn status of $1 billion valuation?
Yeah, I think we got $1 billion, 2018? So I think it was around 2014. Again, the years are always fuzzy. You're sort of working in this tunnel to build this business and to make progress for members, and you're celebrating the valuations. But the valuations are sort of the output of the great product and the great experiences that you're driving for consumers.
And is the first $1 billion the hardest?
By no means. It may take you the longest, or at least took us the longest, but scaling anything at scale is just incrementally hard. So we recently announced our $4 billion valuation. We closed a raise with Silver Lake of a $500 million investment, and our most recent valuation was just over, or right around $4 million. Our previous valuation was 3.5, about a year and a half ago. And so, there's a little bit of difference. One valuation was on preferred stock, the other was on common. So, you can imagine we've done well, but the last year and a half has taken quite a while and still hasn't gone past a full $1 billion.
So your business model, I've read it, it seems very straightforward. You provide people with credit reports. You let them choose credit cards. You take a commission on that. Do people understand it, or are they looking for, where's the hole? Where do you actually rip me off? Where do you destroy my privacy?
Yeah, so there's a lot of consumers that still have the questions about, is there, will the other shoe drop, or what's the strings, or what have I gotten myself into? When we very first started the business, we used to read the credit boards, and consumers would go on there and talk about opening a new Gmail account or opening a new Yahoo account, saying, I'm going to go register for Credit Karma, and I'm opening a new account to see how much spam I get. And we used to love it, because after 5 days or 7 days or a month, people would come back and say, oh my God, there's absolutely nothing in my Gmail account. This is awesome. So people, I think, inherently, with the way the world works today, they expect there to be a gotcha. But I will say, at 80 million members, most consumers are finding out about us virally from their friends, from their family, people that have been affected. And it's not just a free credit score service, right? I think that's where we started. But the business now, we help consumers dispute inaccurate information on their credit reports. We've helped our members identify over $300 million that sits at state treasuries of unclaimed monies that are theirs. So we help them go find that money. We help consumers manage their cars, right? So if you're on Credit Karma and you go to our Auto Hub, you can actually find out the value of your car. And you can determine whether now's the time for you to trade that in and look for a new car, or to hold steady and pay off the rest of that loan, or just enjoy your car as it is. There's so much more to Credit Karma, which was originally launched as a free credit score service, than just credit scores today.
And so you now have a tax prep app as well, which means you're competing with Intuit, and TurboTax seems to be the Death Star of the tax prep space. What has it been like going against an incumbent like that?
Yeah, so we never set out to hurt other companies, right? When we started the free credit score service, we didn't set out to hurt Experian, and by no means is TurboTax on our radar, a company that we went to the Death Star, made it so looming. But what we see is that when there are things that should just be free, filing your taxes, it's a pain to file your taxes. But
and confirm.
And everybody has to do it, right? But why should why should people charge you $50 or $100 just to send it off to the government?
I'm feeling victimized now, because I did just pay that much to Intuit.
Right? And so we used to look at some of the earnings reports, and we would see that companies would say, I'm making more money off of free things. And from an Intuit perspective, it was, hey, our average ARPU of consumers that do this for free has gone up year over year, and we expect it to go up even higher. That felt awkward. And it felt like a place where Credit Karma could get involved and democratize or make available to everyone the ability to do something we all have to do for free. For a lot of consumers, spending $100 or $150 filing between the federal government and state is a lot of money, right? If you step back and think about, last year we did over 1 million filings at $150 a pop. That's a lot of dollars we put back in the pockets of our members. And as that money comes out, the average refund is about $2,500. We also help give them guidance on smart things to do. Put your money to work for you. Put it into savings accounts. Set it away for rainy day funds. We try to help be a steward of their financial decisions.
Good. So you now have a data breach prevention service, which I guess as of a week ago, you're now scouring the dark web. What sort of insights has that gotten you? And I guess I should preface this with a disclosure. I too have been Equifaxed. Did you get Equifaxed?
I totally got Equifaxed.
Haven't we all?
It's so tough. And I feel for Equifax. I mean, security is such a tough thing, and so many different services have been compromised. But at the heart of it, our mission is to help consumers make financial progress. And if your data isn't protected and your data isn't accurate, it's incredibly hard for you to make financial progress. If you're spending your time trying to get money put back in your account, getting a new credit card to your home, or correcting information that's out there, it slows us all down. We saw that many of our members, while we had credit monitoring, unfortunately, monitoring is a little bit after the fact. It's after someone's used your data to access information and get a new credit card or get a new service. So we wanted to see how we could become proactive. And looking at that, how do we protect consumers versus how do we just help them remedy the situation? But it's been great. I mean, our members love it. As you can imagine, it's something unique to Credit Karma is we haven't built our business to be segment-based. If you hear the things I'm talking about, disputing, accessing your credit, filing your taxes, unclaimed money, doesn't matter if you're a prime consumer or a subprime consumer. It doesn't matter if you're a millionaire or a person 18 or 19 just starting to enter into the workforce. This matters to every American. And so one of the things that I'm really proud of is that this was built for the 99%. Your founders have come from the 99%. We all came from rural areas. I came from a really small town of about 1,700 in Coldwater, Ohio. So, helping that everyday person is part of our DNA, and it really drives the business and the services and feature functionality that we are bringing to Americans.
So your site's got a good deal of explanation of, here's why you can trust us with your data, here's what we do to keep it secure.
Yep.
Like, how have you sort of changed your approach to that? Since the last few years have just been a sequence of horrible, horrible stories of data breaches, and oh my God, we were so trusting before, how do we not see this coming?
Yeah, I think there's two parts, right? I think it's unreasonable in today's day and age to not imagine that your data at some point in time is going to be breached somewhere, right? If it's at Bank of America or at Chase or at Equifax or at Netflix or wherever, there's so much data out there about you. The question starts to become, if you were working in a world where you believed your data was breached, how would you manage your information? And we're starting to try to turn that paradigm for our members and be ahead of it and say, manage your money, manage your finances, manage your data today in the same way you would when you found out that your data was breached. So we're very excited at some of the services that have come out because of the breach. And we are very excited to see how we can continue to invest and really double down on things like dark web scan, or have you been pwned, like those
That's
different
a great
services.
Site.
Yeah.
Yeah, by an Australian researcher, Troy Hunt.
Yep.
If you can plug your email address and be disappointed with the results.
Right. So this email address essentially helps consumers understand where their email and password has been released. And so at Credit Karma, it's one of those services that we engaged with, and we proactively notify our members every time their information is breached somewhere. And they can additionally come in and search their other email addresses that may not be on file with Credit Karma. So again, when you think about Credit Karma, what we're trying to do is aggregate all of the services you would need to keep your financial life safe, but also to help you make progress in smart ways through the products that you have specifically for your credit situation.
So another bit of transparency I appreciate on your site, the terms of service document that no one reads actually has a nice one-paragraph plain English summary, which first I think this is great because this is keeping English majors employed, right?
Yep.
And do people actually read it, and do they understand better how your company works?
Yeah, I believe they read it. I know we got a lot of requests for it as we were continuing to update our privacy policy in terms of service, but I do think every company should have simple speak, right? We all want to be able to go and understand how our data is being used, what it's being used for, what our rights are, and how you make money. I think the more transparent you are with consumers about how you make money, the more willing they are to engage with you, because there's no more strings, there's no more waiting for the shoe to drop. You just understand that if Credit Karma helps you find an offer that's valuable for you and valuable for an advertiser, Credit Karma will make money at that moment. Otherwise, all of these services are things that we're willing to pay for on your behalf and aggregate into a very delightful experience to help you manage your finances.
It's crazy when startups won't tell me what their business model is. We're trying to figure out, like, guys, that doesn't work as a sales pitch, trust me. You must have some idea how you'll make money at some point. Say so.
Well, I think that's true. I think there's also the IP, right? You don't build a $4 billion company by not working hard. I will say that we shared our idea with many people early on, and people didn't believe that it could happen, and they didn't think that we would sort of grind for 10 hours to make it to 4 billion. But it's not the IP of your idea as much as it is your persistence, your perseverance, and your passion and belief in what it is that you're building. And when I think of entrepreneurs and founders, that's what really separates us from many other leaders at different times.
Now, you bought a chatbot firm recently, right? So what does that do better than an actual human being for customer service?
Yeah, there are many, both on customer service as well as considering offers. So when I think about purchasing or applying for a credit card versus applying for a mortgage, they're very, very different. I might apply for a credit card, and if it comes and I don't like it or I didn't get the terms I expected, it just goes in the junk drawer, right? Or I cut it up and I cancel it. I cannot do that with a mortgage, right? There's a person coming to my house with this huge stack of paper, and I'm expected to sign, and my house is on the line. And so we find that chatbots and sort of considered conversations are much more important for considered purchases than spontaneous transactions. And so Penny's a great acquisition. We're really excited to have the team on board. But as we continue to build out our offerings for consumers across assets and mortgage and autos, having someone facilitate that considered conversation and make sure you feel like it's a guided experience is critical. I wouldn't take out a mortgage without talking to someone, and I don't expect consumers will either.
So we have to close on this point. What advice would you give to the 2007 version of yourself based on the journey you've had since?
Don't change a thing, right? Like I've had a great ride, and I've enjoyed every piece of it. I think the one thing that has been interesting growing from a true founder entrepreneur to a leader of a 800-person, $4 billion company is create self-awareness as early as you can. Understand what's core to you. I've come to realize that the entrepreneur and builder is how I define myself. So, leading at scale is fun, but it's managing, it's organizing, it's a lot of things that you don't do when you're a builder and entrepreneur. So I've managed my career to always get back to the builder, to stay in the strategy zone, to move to international, move to the new verticals. I think that's one of the things that as a founder, how do you stay the journey? And I think a lot of that is becoming self-aware about what makes you happy and where you can drive the most amount of impact for the business that you're leading.
Okay, and I guess last, any words of advice you would have to the entrepreneurs out here?
For the entrepreneurs, I would say share your business model. Be transparent. You can win by putting consumers first. I think Credit Karma in some ways started this journey for so many other businesses of believing that you can do well by doing good. That was something 10 years ago that didn't exist. And so, don't be afraid, I think would be the other piece of, don't be afraid to pay for things that you believe are services consumers need. Because if you do, you will find a way to drive a profitable business in that as well.
All right, and please be transparent when reporters come calling too.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks, y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes Growth Summit for day one. We'll be back again tomorrow, same time, same place, and we'll see you then. Thanks for listening. Thank you.